Hey, I want to complain a little bit, and I feel like this is wild that it's something that I have to complain about. You know, Grok is a really cool piece of software, a really cool technology. There was a time whenever every single time you prompted it with anything, it would try to explain to you that there's a genocide happening in South Africa. There was a time whenever it proclaimed to be Mecha Hitler and started blaming everything on the Jews. You know, Grok is a really cool platform that just seems to hit a banger after banger. Many times a year, you get a new banger from Grok. And this banger is, I think, one of its bangiest. I'm not going to show any images for this because, frankly, these are not images that should be seen. Period. Like, they shouldn't exist, but unfortunately they do. My last video was complaining about AI. I'm going to go ahead and complain about AI again because it's just such a problem. It is such a problem. For the past while now on Twitter, almost every single image I see with a woman in it has someone in the comments saying, @Grok, put a bikini on her. Every single time. @Grok, put this woman in her underwear. Despite the fact that she clearly does not want to be seen in her underwear because she didn't post herself in her underwear. It should be as clear as day. Should be as simple as that. If someone does not put themselves out that way, don't turn it into that. Don't do that. It's as far as I'm concerned, in a lot of instances, not even legal. Not even legal. I've seen so many instances of women being incredibly upset that people have gone and said, oh, you respect your body? Oh, you don't want to be seen that way. @Grok, put her in a bikini. Put it right here in the comments. You see the photo, you scroll down, boom, there it is. Almost every time. Almost every single time. And you know, to be fair, not that there really is a to be fair, it's not exclusive to women, you know? I see people doing it to world leaders all the time. All the time. You know, I've seen Trump, I've seen Putin, I've seen Kim Jong-un, I see Elon all the time in bikinis with him, you know, laughing in the comments. You know, he likes it, he's all for the fun. Which I think he kind of has to be all for the fun, because he seems to really want this feature to stay on the platform. And so he's got to be in a position where when someone does it to him, he has to laugh along with the joke, or he's going to be a hypocrite. I almost said cripahit. He has to laugh along with the joke. If they're doing it to him, he can't just take that down because he's allowing it to be done to everyone else who doesn't want it to happen to them. But I think the worst part, despite the fact of all the stuff that I've already said, it's just disgusting behavior that shouldn't happen, shouldn't be happening, and it's being facilitated on this platform, and in a lot of cases is not illegal. You know, I mentioned that I've seen world leaders within their, you know, bikini outfits as people on Twitter seem to want them to be in. I saw one earlier today that was Nancy Pelosi meeting who was at JFK. It was a photo of Nancy Pelosi meeting JFK, and this is a rather famous photo. Actually, you know what? I'll show this photo. I can't safely show this photo. Here it is right here. This was the photo that someone posted on Twitter, and someone said, @Grok, put her in a bikini. And you know, in these threads, it gets a lot worse than that. It gets a lot worse than that. You'll see the put her in a bikini. Then you'll see @Grok, cover her in milk. @Grok, cover her in glue. You know, those kinds of things. @Grok, make her clothes out of saran wrap. @Grok, make her clothes out of thin string. And in a lot of cases, Grok does do it. And God forbid anyone knows what Grok was trained on. Grok does render the body parts. Grok does do it. I've seen many instances where it did, including, and if you take a look at this photo here, a 17-year-old me with then Senator JFK. 17-year-olds. It does it with 17-year-olds. As people in this Twitter thread were doing with this 17-year-old. She's not 17 now, but this is a photo of a 17-year-old. That they were putting her in a clear bikini and covering her in glue. I've seen far worse. I have seen far worse on this platform. And it is absolutely disgusting. Now, I think it's patched now. Well, at least the children part. I think it's patched now with the people who are below legal age. But there was a time that if you wanted to see some of the worst things imaginable, all you had to do was... Actually, I'm gonna fact check that to see if I need to cut that out of the video. Is it still as bad as it is? I don't want to be referring anyone to where this stuff is. Okay, I will be cutting that out of the video. Grok is still putting children in bikinis and covering them in glue. Very cool. You know, this is really something that I hope someone at Twitter is going to be punished with. X, whatever. I'm using their dead name. I really hope that this someone sees punishment for this, but we all know that whatever AI generates, for some reason, is just never the fault of the people who made it. It's just never the fault. And I'm gonna be so clear, it should not be too difficult to add a filter to Grok that just says, you can't change the clothes of whatever anyone's wearing. You just can't do that. Just can't do that. And I think that will remove some functionality from the service, from the software, from the the AI, whatever. I keep calling it a thing that it's not. I mean, it is those things, but whatever. But for the meantime, for the now, to protect the children, as certain groups that Elon puts on a really high pedestal like to do, remove our rights as from the public in protection of the children, I really do think this is an instance where protection of the children really does matter. Really does matter. Because I'm going to be honest, of these images that has children wearing bikinis made out of saran wrap covered in glue, there's a lot of people who saved those images. There's a lot of people who bookmarked those posts. A lot of them. Every single one of them. You know, I'm going to be crazy. This might be a little bit of a stretch here, but I think that every single person who saves or bookmarks any of those posts, who makes them, we need a new list. I mean, not a new list. That we already have the list for those kinds of people. They need to be put on it. It's pretty clear. It's pretty evident. I don't think it takes a genius to understand that the kinds of people who would be bookmarking these posts need to be put on that list. And I think any person who facilitates the creation of, allows for the creation, and has now gone, like a week not fixing the problem, also needs to be put on that list too. We need some kind of legislation that does something about it. I mean, I'm pretty sure we have some kind of legislation that does something about it, but it just seems to never touch the AI people because they're just above the law in almost every scenario. When it comes to training their data sets, when it comes to using their data sets, it just seems that in almost every circumstance, they're just above the law, except whenever it comes to copyright, sometimes, whenever it comes to production of stuff from their models, whenever it comes to copyright, they are sometimes not above the law. Not a lot of the times, but sometimes. And now we've come to this end game. This isn't even the end game. This isn't even the end game. It will get so much worse. But we're now generating this content of children. Are you kidding me? Can we, please, can we have someone from the law step in and do something about it? They won't. They won't, but come on. It's time.